All right. Hi, guys, gals, and everything in between. Whatever. Hey, whatever. It's 2024, man. Be whatever you want, I guess.
Yep.
Whatever. So I'm Dion.
And I'm Shawn.
And today we are going to talk about what I think is easy to misunderstand. Okay. So here's the story on this. Oklahoma has decided that the federal government created a mandate, basically a rule where for pregnancy care, you have to provide all the options in a, I guess, neutral manner. You have to inform people. You have to tell them there's adoption, there's this, there's that, there's plan B, there's abortion, there's all these things, right? And it's a requirement that you do that. Well, Oklahoma said, no, we're not going to teach people that abortion's possible or something. Like they wouldn't know. I'm not sure exactly, but it breaks it down. But here's the point, right? So the Biden administration said, okay, if you're not going to go with that, then we're not going to give you federal funding. So Oklahoma filed a lawsuit where they're trying to force the government to give them the federal funding. Supreme Court ruled on it, but the only ruling that they gave was they are not going to basically force the government to pay them in the short term. This has not decided the trial. We'll get into why. I'll tell you the short version is because not giving them the money doesn't present a hardship. The state legislature already said, hey, we came up with the money. We replaced that money. That's why. So a lot of people are getting caught up in Supreme Court not ruling in favor of Oklahoma's abortion ban. That's not exactly accurate. Let's get into the story and maybe it'll do a better job of explaining. All right. So Supreme Court allows Biden admin to withhold funding from red state refusing to play ball on abortion. The Supreme Court declined on Tuesday to prevent the Biden administration from withholding family planning grant funding from Oklahoma over the state's refusal to offer abortion referrals. In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court denied Oklahoma's emergency request to prevent the Department of Health and Human Services, aka HHS, from withholding $4.5 million in grant funding from the state while it appeals a lower court's ruling. Okay, makes sense so far.
Yeah,
there's a trial. They're like, hey, we want this money still, and the Supreme Court said, well, we're going to deny the emergency request for the funding. It's not a decided case yet. It's still got to work its way through. But Justices Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch would have granted Oklahoma's application according to the order.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, that seems to be pretty common these days.
Yeah.
Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Neil Gorsuch seem to consistently, I guess, rule together. And Amy Coney Barrett
and Roberts
is completely unpredictable these days. Just this one.
She's trying to be like John Roberts now, I think.
God help us. Please stop it. Just you were supposed to be conservative. That's the whole reason you got put on the bench. Act like it. Act like it. Why are all the people from Indiana that achieve like high levels pieces of trash? Why is that?
Good question. I don't know.
It seems to be, doesn't it? Look at fucking Pence, dude. Good God. Really? The great white hope he was, bruh.
So that leaves, let's think about it.
You know anybody else like super famous or high government position people from Indiana who are not trash? Because John Roberts, dude, I've been disappointed in him for decades. Amy Coney Barrett, she's quickly ramping up to seriously level. And that's all I really know. And of course, Trader Pence.
I guess I could say Jackie was.
Well, yeah, but I would say Jackie was good, but she was Senate. She wasn't really.
You mean House?
That's pretty high. House. That's pretty high. But
You're talking about state level. No, I really can't.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, and did you see that Holcomb met with Zelensky and basically pledged more help for Ukraine?
I did.
F that guy, dude.
We really need to stop giving Ukraine money.
Yeah, him and his little buddy that wear the matching boots.
Yeah,
Bruh.
I'm tired of giving Ukraine money.
Right? Dude, enough. I'm tired of my taxes going, and it's not even that, I'm going to tell you, it's not even that we're giving them money per se. It's that you watch these videos from Ukraine of people going out and having a good time. Everything looks fine. Kiev isn't getting bombed. They're not getting fighting in the streets. Why are we spending billions and billions and billions of dollars for them to go enjoy life? We're not able to enjoy life. Our fucking taxes are astronomical. Our food prices are astronomical. Our gas price, dude. Anyway, in 2021, HHS adopted a rule requiring recipients of Title X10 grants to offer pregnant clients, quote, neutral, factual information and non-directive counseling about their options, including abortions. Now, I'm going to pause here just for a moment. How do you feel about that being a requirement for federal funding?
It doesn't buy as long as it's neutral.
That's the key, right? As long as I believe that there is, a positive aspect to offering people all of the alternatives that are available to them.
They have to make an adult decision, so they should have the
adult information.
Yeah.
They should have all the information available. All right. So Steve Vladeck, I don't know who he is, but it says over public dissents from Justices Thomas, why are you gay? Stop it. Over public dissents from Justices Thomas Alito and Gorsuch, SCOTUS rejects Oklahoma's request to continue receiving federal Title X funds despite its refusal to publicize a required national call-in number for abortion counseling. So that's the heart of this. So Oklahoma has refused to publicize a phone number for abortion counseling. The 10th Circuit Court of Appeals sided with HHS in July, declining to prevent the agency from withholding Oklahoma's grant. Oklahoma asked SCOTUS in early August to allow it to access the funds while it appeals the decision. In other words, go ahead and give us the money. We're going to continue on with the lawsuit, but in the meantime, we could use this money. Quote, Title X does not unambiguously impose an abortion counseling or referral requirement, the state wrote in its emergency application. Quote, therefore, HHS cannot impose an abortion counseling or referral requirement on Title X grantees. Now, that is an interesting argument to make. It says it does not unambiguously impose an abortion counseling or referral requirement. In other words, that's not what it says. It doesn't say we have to do this. It just says this. So by not doing this, they can't come after us for the funds. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
I'm not either.
The state argues the legislation, quote, foists upon Oklahoma a requirement concerning an issue that has been recognized as specifically reserved to the people to address. in the Supreme Court's 2022 Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization decision, which reversed Roe v. Wade. Now, that is an interesting argument. It says Supreme Court specifically said that the issue of abortion is up to the states. Therefore, can the federal government even legally mandate something like these Title X requirements?
Sounds like it's going to be a Supreme Court case.
It
They're going to
sounds
have
like
they're going to have to make a decision.
I'm going to be. We should definitely pay attention to this because I think it's going to open the door for more states, regardless of which way it gets decided. It's going to open the door for more states to either say you can't stop our funding, or well, take the money from the red states and give it to the blue states then. HHS deliberately sought to impose the executive branch's policy preferences on the states, including Oklahoma, and upset the federal-state balance on this important issue, the state argued. Now, that is an interesting argument. And, Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar wrote in the government's brief that nothing HHS did impacts the state's, quote, ability to restrict abortion within its borders. The Oklahoma legislature has already provided substitute funding to make up the shortfall created by the termination of last year's grant, and there is no reason to doubt that it can do the same this year, the brief states. That's it. That's the story. Now, why does this matter? Well, first of all, we've been dealing with federal funding issues in many, many aspects of our lives in all of the states. Indiana, in particular, we're dealing with funding as it relates to schools. The left wants more and more and more of that money. Give me that sweet money, right? I want more state control, or preferably local control, over our schools.
Yep.
I want the administrative state that the schools have become to not make the ridiculous amounts of money that they make doing a job that I feel is not worth the money they're getting paid. Teachers are not getting paid. Administrators are.
Yeah.
That's a problem. We have consistently seen, especially recently, where federal funding comes with strings. And in order to get all those millions of dollars, you have to do what the federal government tells you to do. In our case, here in Indiana, they are demanding certain DEI initiatives, right? They have to teach the kids certain things, certain ways, certain inclusiveness, right? Damn that. We don't need the federal funding that bad, in my opinion. And this here, I think, if we pay attention to it and we chart its course and we watch it, I think we're going to have a much better understanding of how the Supreme Court and other appeals courts are going to start ruling on these issues, because a lot of things are happening in the court systems that not a lot of people are talking about. They have, put it this way, they're very focused instances, right? So a lot of things are happening in the world of the Second Amendment. Whole lot of decisions being turned over, a whole lot of decisions coming down where they determined that even having a permit is unconstitutional. Did you see that?
I did not.
Yeah. So we can expect some major shakeups coming. There are a ton of things. There were some, I want to say it was in Washington State, a Second Amendment based court case where a guy was arrested with I think full auto Glock. And he argued that the Second Amendment places no restriction. As a matter of fact, the only restrictions it places is on the government. Now, interestingly enough, are you familiar with this story or no?
I am not. So
the the court ruled that he was correct. That the National the National Firearms Act, NFA, I think, basically banning machine guns is unconstitutional as it relates to this client. They didn't, it's a very interesting case, but it is that first crack, right? Sculptors where they take a chisel, right, and they go just the right spot and they go tink,
Yeah.
and then it, takes just that right amount off. I think this is the first chisel hit.
We should do a show on
bigger. That. Yeah. There are some.
I'll have to research
interesting cases that are coming up, not just with the Second Amendment, but all aspects. There are so many things happening in the legal system right now. It's hard to keep up with it all. But look out, by all means, fact check me, look into it. It is an interesting, very interesting story. And I think we're going to start seeing more rulings like this because ultimately we need a court with some gonads that are willing to go against the shrill voices of the constantly angry.
Yeah.
Because every gun law is unconstitutional. I look, it's just reality. I'm sorry. I know you might have feelings about it one way or another, not you, but our viewers, you might feel like, background checks need to be this, or there needs to be a waiting period, or all of that. All of that's unconstitutional, shall not be infringed. Any law that is repugnant to the Constitution is automatically null and void. Marbury v. Madison. That says it all right there. It shall not be infringed is pretty clear. The government needs to stay the hell out of our choices when it comes to defending ourselves. And that's the way that the Second Amendment was actually designed. I'm getting off track, but I know.
Sorry.
I should just call this ADD hour. Because I'm
You're
like,
fine.
But there are a large number of cases that are being decided right now that a lot of people aren't paying attention to.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
Yeah, and it's hard to keep track because it's all over the map. So yeah, it's I don't know the name of the court case, but let's see if I can find it real quick. Let's see, court decision NFA. All right, so it looks like let's see here. Okay, so this is just one little clip about the greater context. So, Constitutional Accountability Center release. Supreme Court's Cargill decision rejects the clear text and history of the National Firearms Act. Following today's decision at the Supreme Court, it's Garland v. Cargill. That was the name of the court case. A case in which the court was considering whether bump stocks were correctly classified as machine guns. This is the wrong one, actually. Under the National Firearms Act, Constitutional Accountability Center counsel Nina Henry issued the following reaction. In 1934, they passed the NFA to address the proliferation of machine guns that enabled mass killings with a single pull of the trigger. Blah, 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 blah. The court rejected Congress's definition of the term machine gun, adopting instead one that is at odds with the text and history of the NFA. They actually, it's interesting. The NFA actually came about because of the gangs and the Chicago typewriter, the Thompson 45 machine gun. Familiar with that?
No, I'm
weapon?
not.
Okay. Because the gangs, the mafia, had firepower that police officers didn't have.
I see.
Now, the easy decision would have been to have police officers match that firepower, but instead the government chose to infringe upon the citizens' rights to keep and bear arms. That's the wrong actual, because this is about bump stocks. But there is another one that was very recent. Is this the one? Oh, this might be it. Anyway, I can't find it right now. It might be this one. Let me see the date on this and see if this is the right one. Where is the... Nobody knows how to put dates on stuff anymore? No, this is not it either. Okay. No. Okay, I'm not finding it, but it's very recent. I'll have to look it up. But the court ruled that in that particular instance, with that particular client, or I should say defendant, petitioner, I'm not sure if he was the one who filed it or was defending himself against it. But either way, the court ruled that for him, the NFA was unconstitutional. Now, this opens the door for other people.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're going to see, in my opinion, some very, very interesting cases come and go between now and November. I think just keep your eyes peeled, pay attention. What would be nice, though, is it would kind of be nice to have, I guess, to maybe do a show on these Second Amendment decisions and how they affect the average American who isn't super into. You know what, though? Speaking of the Second Amendment, so Charlie Kirk went to a university or something, and he had a booth set up, right? And this guy came, and my initial expectation of the way that the conversation was going to go was completely wrong.
Really?
Yeah. So let me see if I can find it real quick, because you know what? The audio is not great. I'm just going to tell you. Okay. So he went, and it was an individual who freely identified as gay, whatever, right? He's like, as a gay man, right? So whatever. But what he was talking about was he has feared for his safety, right? That he's been the target of harassment and bullying and stuff like that. Okay. His question, now what I thought was going to happen didn't happen. What he said was, and this is why I find this so fascinating, is as a pro 2A kind of guy, how do you recommend that we basically inform people that he didn't say the exact words, I'm paraphrasing, but the people that are reticent or don't like guns or are afraid of guns, how do we frame the conversation and get them into the fold? Because in many cases, these are the very people that should be armed.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? So it was interesting. And he asked, Charlie Kirk had asked him, he was like, in general, your circle, are they anti-gun or pro-gun? He's like, no, in general, they're very anti-gun, right? Why is that? And it's an excellent question, right? Because ultimately, because an armed society is a polite society.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go starting shit with people you can't take.
Uh-huh.
And a firearm is the great equalizer. Yeah. That's why I insist that my wife is armed at all times. I insist that I am armed at all times if possible. Because it's the great equalizer.
It is.
I want you as perhaps not physically imposing individual. Maybe you have a disability. Maybe you're not that strong. Purchase a firearm, learn it, take it to the range, practice, get some actual instruction if possible, and get good. Get good, because that is the great balancing act right there. It suddenly doesn't matter what Thuggy Fresh looks like. It doesn't matter if he's 6'6", 390. It doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter. It'd go right through fat. It'd go right through all that blubber. No problem. That's the thing. It evens the playing field for everyone.
And you're less likely to ever have to use it too.
Yeah. The very, very, very tiny, tiny percentile of the people who are armed ever have to use their weapon. Very, very tiny percentile.
Just the threat.
But in most instances, if someone knows you're armed, they're not going to fuck with you.
Yeah.
They're just not. Does that mean go flashing it around? No, don't be an idiot. And I do highly recommend that if you are, regardless of who you are, go to the range, learn it, get some time, become very familiar with not only the operation of the weapon, right? How it reloads, what type of ammo it takes. All this stuff is important. This is your life. If you look at this thing as if this will keep me alive, you're generally a little more enthusiastic about learning the various parts and what goes into it, just my opinion. I have seen some very what I would consider very physically weak individuals completely turn the tables because they're armed and the attacker is not. It's, it happens. It happens. And ultimately, the best way to get over your fear of guns, because it's easy to look at, especially when you watch Hollywood, right? Hollywood, you see these, massive, like Predator. You guys ever seen Predator where he's got the mini? Dude, you're killing me. But he's got a minigun, right? Minigun, it's got spinning barrels and it shoots Terminator 2, right? The minigun. Anyway, you can't have a minigun without paying a lot of money to the federal government. That's just how it is, which I want everyone to truly, truly understand what gun control is. Gun control isn't to keep you safe. It's to keep them safe from you.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the reality of it. Because if you have enough money, you can have fully automatic weapons. You can have grenade launchers. You can buy a jet. You can do all that. The guy I knew has a tank. You can have that shit, but you need the money. Poor people. That's why that. Do you guys remember? You probably don't, but in the 80s, there was this campaign against snub-nosed revolvers. 38. They were called 38 specials, right? They called them Saturday night specials, and they were easily concealable. The media decided to run a smear campaign about how dangerous they are, right, to the wielder, and so they fell out of favor. But the reality is they were cheap, they were dangerous to the target, right, to the person you wanted to harm, and the government didn't like that. It's the same thing as when the Black Panthers in California went to the State House armed. All of a sudden, California changed their laws. It's just the reality, guys. Gun control isn't for you. It's not to protect you. It's not to keep you safe or give you, little happy dreams. It's to protect the people who make the rules against you and me. It's just that simple. All right. That's it for today. And we'll see you guys again soon. Thanks for stopping by. And as always, God bless you. God bless Indiana. And God bless the United States of America. I hope you have a great day. Bye.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers, Shawn Holgram and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2024. Dion's Daily Dose, all rights reserved.